welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Leading Ladies. Oh my goodness, Leaving Legacies. Change is in the air in every zone that you can think of, every circle, every group. I'm honored to have you here today. I am Joy Ruffin. The work that I do is as a signature style specialist. I'm in leadership and a personal development strategist. There's so much more. But every Wednesday, I bring you a leading lady and we chat and talk about all the things that are important and major prime for many of you in many areas of your life. I'm always excited to join you. And I want to mention before I bring up my featured guest speaker, is we have a webinar coming up. And I want you just to make a note of it when I show you later, or maybe even now, the poster, because I want you to take a screenshot or a snapshot, because it's coming up February the 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you're going to be filled with a lot of good information. In the meantime, bear in mind, this is style power, because here we're all about divine femininity, power, equality, and that includes the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And we're going to be talking a lot about that. But here today, oh my goodness, I get excited. I can't help it. It's in my DNA. I think most of you know that by now. I meet so many fabulous, marvelous, really pioneering women as I move around networking lately through the Zoom, through the box, and now getting out more and more in person that the crazy pandemic is over. Yet, as much as the pandemic brought to us that was not good, it brought to us a lot that was beyond good. And that was the connections that we made with people where we had a chance to dialogue more with them. This lady I met in one of my favorite groups, and I could go on and tell you about her. Her title to me was Lead Like a Queen. And because I'm me, and I'm tired of the word queen, and she allowed me to say this, not that she would object. Queen doesn't fit, because I think goddess fits more. How to reclaim your power and your throne. Now, this lady is a gifted, extraordinary publisher. And we're going to be talking a lot about that, because my love for writers and publishers and authors of all and every category is never ending. And you will find her beyond mesmerizing, because her information is going to be powerful. So friends, you know the drill. Sit back, relax, grab whatever makes you comfortable, and help me welcome our featured guest speaker today, my leading lady and yours, Kristine Skiff. Love her name. Kristine, hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Dr. Joy. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're going to make me laugh all through this. Only one other person calls me Dr. Joy, and you and I both love him dearly. Thank you. Thank you. That's how I met you. Let me ask you this. You are the owner of Gift and Author Publishing. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to do this work, because that's what we're all fascinated to know.
So this was one of those things where I whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever you believe in, sometimes things just align and it was meant to be. And that's how I became a publisher. I have always been a writer. My parents did not have a TV, so all I did was read, write, make my brothers and sisters act out plays from which they're still traumatized. And my first thing was published when I was in middle school. It was a story about a little boy and his sister during the Depression. And that was published in some local magazine, and I was hooked. That was my career path. That's what I was going to do. And I was training for it, went to school for English Lit. Back in the old days, you couldn't self-publish. So I had to do it the hard way. I was building up a repertoire and a portfolio with magazine articles and things. And then I got married and had 5 kids back to back. And they
no, that's wonderful. Woo!
Yeah, 5, and they all had autism. So needless to say, I was not going to be having the great big writing career I thought I was going to have. Instead, I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years.
Oh
and
goodness.
To speed up the story, I got back in writing. I had a blog throughout the entirety of the kids growing up, and that was popular. But I got back into writing. I wrote my first book and self-published it because I needed it for my mental health. I needed a
Mm-hmm.
being a stay-at-home mom with all these kids. And that developed in the most insane way into me being a ghostwriter for about 2 years. I wrote over 30 books altogether, 17 of which went on to become bestsellers. And then I realized after some time I had developed a team for my writing. I did not
Mm-hmm.
need to
Mm-hmm.
be a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Was for me to have quality books because there was a lot of scams out there in the
Yes.
self-publishing industry. And people started coming to me asking me, how do you do this? Why are your books looking like this? What are you doing different? And after about a year of that, I realized I was publishing and not getting paid for it.
Oh,
So thus,
Kristine, you've given us so much absolutely beyond information to go with. And I want to back up a wee bit because your story for me is alike and akin to my own love for writers, authors. I have always been an insatiable, voracious reader. And now I'm about ready. And that's why you're here in a different way. I haven't even discussed it with you. And you mentioned the key word ghostwriter, because I have a lot of issues, but I need a good ghostwriter because I have the material, but I want it to be impactful. And what you said, I knew that you had, but somewhere it went through the cracks. 5 kids, and they all have autism. That's why you gave me this title, and I really get it now. How to reclaim your throne.
Yes.
And work with it in love through all of the whatever. Oh, that how did you, and you self-published, and you found that there were a lot of crooks and people out there, and you didn't want to be one of those. And your first book you published in middle school?
Well, it was a short story. It went into a local magazine, and that just gave me the bug. I was going to be a writer.
Good for you. And I think that's what happens. I think with writers, it's like painters and dancers. You get that bug, you get that seed, you get something, that inkling or that winkle, tickle inside, and that's what you need to do. I get that. I think it's great. Now, when did you start your owner of Gift and Author Publishing? When did you start that?
So I had originally, when I started publishing, I don't even think you know this.
No.
I started off with a partner, and the company was called Your Inkwell, and we were publishing together. And after we worked together for 2 years, I was running the operations part with all the writing and all that stuff, and she was handling more of the sales and the business aspects. After 2 years, on January 15th, 2023, I remember the day well,
Woo-hoo.
I got a phone call and my partner, who I just talked to the day before, and none of this came up, said, well, I've decided to shutter the business. And she owned 51%, I owned 49%. And yeah, so I'm leaving the business. What do you want to do? And I ended up walking away with my team, without signing a non-compete clause, and with some of my customers. And started by February 1st, I was opening Gift and Author Publishing, because I already own the URLs, because Gift and Author was the business I used for being a ghostwriter. I was like, okay, I own all this, and I'm starting right up. So it became Gift and Author Publishing.
Good for you. Let me tell you why I love that story, Kristine, because that story has so many nuances there. First off, I'm mesmerized and fascinated with this never-ending conversation with myself and others like you, all about the human connection, the humanness of us all, and how we connect and relate in biz to biz. And for me, as it is with you, and I don't ask because I know this, integrity comes first.
Yes, ma'am.
And so for you not to have an inkling that something like this was in the works speaks a lot about the integrity of the person that you were with. So that was in divine order. And it's like the pandemic. We couldn't see it. There was nothing really phenomenal, fantastic, and great about it, but it gave many of us a different something to work with. And that's what A&I is doing now. So I get that. And, you know, I also, when you say reclaiming your throne, and you gave me training to shrink, tell me how that ties in with this human connection and getting to know people and book writing and all of that stuff. Where did training to shrink come in and become a big part of your DNA now and what you're doing?
So I I think, like many women, I was raised to make myself as small as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't be too loud, don't have too many opinions, do not speak out. If you are a strong woman, it was considered, there were a lot of names that were thrown your way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So as women, I think we're often trained to shrink ourselves and to take up the least space possible. And to become who I am today, I had to reverse train myself to become big. And in the sense of, I had to allow myself to express my true personality, to be the strong woman that I was, and to step away from the things that people had tried so hard to instill in me, but I was just too big a personality to be that small. And to really put that aside and accept the person that I was meant to be. And so I was trained to shrink, but what I had to do was shove that training off and become who I am.
Kristine, this is why we're connected in so many ways, because I could speak the same verbiage in different language, but the underlying gist of it would be the same.
Yeah.
You said the reverse of how you were trained. I say now it's time for all of us as females, as women, to reset the programming and the conditioning that we've all gone through at some level. And some of us have gone too far over to the dark side, attempting to do our divine femininity the way that men do it. Mm-hmm. I love men, you love men, men love us, but yet we are the bedrock. And most really great men know that. And it's time for us to own our power without emasculating or denying men. So I love your outlook and where you get. And when you talk about sexuality and empowerment, that's exactly what you're talking about. You're using pretty clean language. And I love that. How did finding your voice, it ties in with training to shrink. When did you come to the realization that you had to step into your power and own who you were?
So I spent my life for the first 30 years feeling guilty because I wasn't small enough. Mm-hmm. I wasn't small enough physically. I wasn't small enough personality wise. I couldn't stomach the thought of submitting or all the things we're trained to in certain circles to do. Mm-hmm. And so I felt so guilty. And when I was about 30, I realized I'm sick of feeling guilty for who I am. I mean, I'm sick of, I remember when I was a young girl, I was at a family dinner at a restaurant. We didn't go out often because we were raised without a lot of money. And I'm sitting there, and it's in the summer, and I'm wearing a sundress with no sleeves. And I wasn't a big girl or anything, but I remember someone in my family looking over, pinching my arms and saying, the top of my arms, and saying, "You shouldn't wear sleeveless dresses. Your arms are too big." I was 6.
Oh, no.
And when you internalize these things, you have to take a step back and really unprogram your mind. I am a beautiful woman, inside and out. And it doesn't matter what the scale says. It doesn't matter what you say. It's what I say about me, and accepting that. And that is where your real power comes from. Exactly. And I didn't really come into that until I was in my 30s.
Well, listen, I didn't come into it until later. So I have received everything that you shared, Kristine. And that's why we're connected at the hip bone, so to speak, because what you just said is my premise. Forget about size, age, weight, and all this other stuff that we've been programmed to. I just love that you're here and that you arrived, because I was so concerned. My engineer is going to put you in the green room, and I'm going to do a quick little reset. We're going to show your poster briefly, and then again later towards the end. But hold tight, because we're going to come back, and I want to talk about in a different way what you alluded to, and that's female solidarity. Oh my God, that's so major for me. But friends, just like Kristine is here today, sharing all of this really potent information with you. Many of you might be on the same page, reading a different book, maybe. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. This group, Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies, belongs to you. And we want you to come and share your vision, your mission, and your purpose with us, because that's what's important. All of us united in solidarity together. We don't copy, compete, and compare with each other anymore. And what Kristine ended with is so important. Forget about all the things we've been programmed to embrace: our weight, our size, our height, our age, our looks. All of that stuff is important, but not in the context that we have been taught. So we need you here. Please join us here. And if you really, and I don't know how you could not be, if you're interested in presence, style, and how you show up and making sure that you're at the best of you, but within a realm that fits you to the T, then take our color quiz, because that will give you a lot of power and a lot of insights about color and how it plays out for you. Much as we all love black, navy, and some of the other colors, we don't wear them all the time. So find out the color palette that's best for you and how you can build, blend, and balance them out for you. And then I want you to join us in my webinar. It's going to be live. I'm beyond excited about it. I want you to come, because you know why? Because when you arrive, the first thing I'm starting out with, which I started out somewhat differently with Kristine, is we are the change makers. Whether you put cosmic change makers in front of it or not, we are the change makers, and we are the new examples. You remember back in the day when they had the expression, the new normal? Forget about new normal. There's no new normal. There's normal. But this is a new chapter for many of us to embrace our essence and core of who we are. And then I want to put up my featured guest speakers graphic, because we're going to be talking about towards the end here in a different way what she's all about and how she does this, how she's dealing with AI, which is a phenomenal, which everybody knows about, right? But how do you embrace it? And she's doing work here that she can show and tell you in so many ways how to use this. Make sure you take a screenshot and you take a snapshot and you get all of this information, and that you join and connect with her at your convenience, but you'll make it soon. Kristine, you and I could go on and on and on and on. And I try not to do that, because I love, as much as I do this, I also love this listening. So how does female solidarity play in for you in today's day and age?
Oh my goodness. This is something I'm so passionate about. We as women, we are the backbone of society. We are the creators. Mm-hmm. We create life. We create our values, and who we are creates the environments we're in and the atmosphere we create. And when we come together as women and as creators, we can build amazing things together. We can overcome and just change society. Too often we just too often, like if you watch the old TV or even new TV shows, they show women being catty with each other and competing with each other and being nasty. That's not who we should be.
No. We have to get over that.
Yes, because we are all gifted in some way, and we come together and we build each other up, and we go together into a direction of empowering women and empowering men to be good, honest men, and women to be good, honest, strong women. We create a society that we can all be proud of. And I don't know about you, but there's a lot about society right now that I would like to change.
Me too. That's why we're together. I'm exactly in line with you, my friend. And I love what you had to say about when we come together. It's time to put on the back burner all of that stuff that most of us were programmed and conditioned to embrace and embody. She has better hair. Her eyes are better. Her body is better. Her clothes. Forget about all of that. Nobody's better. And we need each other. Kristine, we need each other, because I can't write, but I can do this. Because my spelling and my grammar, it's atrocious. I know it, and nobody has to tell me that. But I have a story. We all have a story. That's why I need you. Not because I need you just for that, because I celebrate the integrity and the honor that you bring to the table. It's been expressed to me in so many ways. It's time to reverse and reset a lot of that stuff. the time goes here and I get excited. I can't help it. It's enough. But I want to speak very briefly before I wrap up here. I haven't overlooked it, Kristine, but you mentioned 5 kids and they all autism, and how you have dealt with that. I don't commend and put anybody on a pedestal. I'm not putting you on one, but I celebrate you. Good for you. Tell me how you're dealing with that now.
So that my children are now adults. I have a 24-year-old, a 23-year-old, 2 21-year-olds who are turning 22 next month, and the baby, quote unquote, is 20. So we have 5 and 4 years, but they're all at home, but they are, I often say that having kids with autism is they have the same issues. It's just magnified by the autism. So we are working towards independence. It's at our own rate. And, but we're doing well. Our house is crazy. It's busy. We have 7 people in it, 3 dogs, a cat, and a grand turtle. So it's crazy, but I love it. And I'm really blessed by just having a family that is, honestly, I love the difference that we have. We're all unicorns. And I love it.
Thank you for sharing that, because we have hubby and I have a dear friend who has a child that has autism, and we went through the cycle, and that kid now is 31 years old. So I know exactly from whence you speak, and somewhat what it can be, and how pressurizing it can be, and how you have to rise to the challenge. And I really celebrate and applaud you for that, and so much more. The time goes here, and I want to wrap up somewhat with what you brought to us with your graphic. And that, you got an animal there with you. I love animals, cats, dogs, birds, all of them.
I love them, but they need to be quiet.
They don't listen to our voices. But anyway, you talk about mentorship. Why is that so important to you? I think you spoke to it in so many different ways, Kristine, but how and what is that mentorship that you're doing today? How is that filling you up so that you are able to give back in a way, and all the things that you do?
Yes. When I was 14 years old, my grandma took me aside and she said, honey, my grandmother was beautiful, beautiful, very graceful, very elegant woman. Yes. She said, honey, I love you, but that black eyeliner, you do not need all that. And she packed me up into the car, her Grand Marquis, and she drove me to Hex, and she sat me down at a makeup counter, and she said, teach my grandbaby how to put on makeup.
Oh my goodness.
And then she bought me a new outfit, and she taught me how to be a lady. And I think that we as women, as one of the gifts we have as we get older, because a lot of times as you get older, people try to diminish what womanhood is, but I think we only improve, and we can share all those things we've learned, and then we can learn from others who have already gone a little further than us. Yeah. And as we do that, that's what builds our community of women.
Yes.
And to me, I've been blessed with amazing women mentors, and it has encouraged me to be a mentor to others.
I love that story about grandmas, because most of us, it's not all, but have had a grandmother or some elder female who gave us insights and awareness that we didn't have. And unfortunately, and I know, and I don't blame. I've given up blame and judgment, but we do have deep discernment, and we have these big eyes. I see, you see, we all see. And sometimes we get, especially as we age, we're so set in our ways, it's hard to change. That's why your grandma pulling you aside, and mine in other ways, and sharing with me things that are embedded in your soul that you can't release, and it takes you through life. And that's the story that most of us have, something like that in our lives. Who doesn't love a good grandma?
That's right.
I mean, really, how does the mentorship that you do now work with the people that you work with, as far as the writing and the ghostwriting and so on and so forth? How are you working with them to instill and share with them someone like me when I come to you? I can verbalize to you great stories, but when you write it and put it in print and on paper, I will be using verbiage and words that some of them slip through the cracks today because our school system has dropped as far as I'm concerned. And it's up to you and I and many of us to correct that. But how do you work with people to give them the insight and the awareness that they need to get that book where people will be hungry to read it?
Well, and that's the excellent question. So first and foremost, we do have ghostwriters, and that process is different because what makes a great ghostwriter isn't just that they're a great writer, because you can be an amazing writer and not be able to be a ghostwriter.
Ooh.
A ghostwriter has to have the ability to worm around in your head and use your voice when writing. So it's not just about being a good writer. It's about being able to understand the person you're writing and use their voice as you're writing. So that is what it is.
Kristine, I'm sorry to interject, but I do this. I get excited. That is the most graphic, best description that I've ever heard about a good ghostwriter. Because sometimes you have read and I have read where the ghostwriter somehow missed the empathy and the compassion and the soul of that person. Yes. And what you're saying is that warm wiggling around in your brain to get your empathy and your compassion. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
And that's part of a different process. But also another thing that we do is I take new writers or even writers who have already written, and we do author coaching where I take you through the process of building your book and learning how to not only create a really good book, but also how to put that book out there and market it, and how to make it a profitable endeavor. Because a lot of people get books out and then they're like, what do I do with it? And that's no good.
No, that's not good. And you mentioned something you alluded to, and we can somewhat end on it. We have a few more minutes here, but everybody now, it appears, most everyone are writing books. Mm-hmm. Most everyone has a podcast today, a live stream, something.
Yes.
And yet the vast differences, I see, you see, we all see, that's my latest expression. Some of them are wonderful, and some of them are, as my mom would say, god awful. But yet, as hubby would say, at least they're there. They're putting their voice out there. And what you're saying is it what I'm hearing, is that you want to make sure that ghostwriter gets into the nuances of that person that they're writing for.
Yes. So I want them to understand what it is and who they're writing for, and that's why there's three fundamental things I've built my company upon. Mm-hmm. The first one is we have a diverse group of people that work together, because I don't believe we can properly represent our clients is if we don't have the diversity within our business. Mm-hmm. So diversity is truly important. Mm-hmm. Secondly, quality is important. We use professionals. Mm-hmm. I don't just find somebody off the street and ask them to edit a book. And thirdly, we want to make a global difference. And so when I hire someone outside the US, I'm not hiring them to be cheaper. I hire people who are really good at what they do, and then I pay them the equivalent of what I would pay somebody in the US.
Oh, Kristine, you couldn't have ended on a better note. The time flies here, and I want my engineer to put up your graphic while I say this to you. I want you to be thinking about your parting words, your food for thought, and what you want to leave the audience with. You've already left us. My engineer, if you could put up her graphic while I'm saying this, she's already left us with diversity, which is one of my favorite words, and global. And underneath that, or aligned with that, is quality. What more could you ask for? Because today, with the network and technology the way that it is, we're all going global. So that said, thank you. Take a screenshot, take a snapshot, and make sure you connect with this divine lady. Divine femininity is what we're about here. And by the way, gents, if you're out there, there's divine masculine too. We're not ignoring you. Kristine, you and I must do this again. And you won't give me heart conniptions like you did today. But that's okay. It's okay. But what parting words do you want to leave us with? And then my engineer is going to scoot you into the green room and I'm going to close the show. So what would you like to leave us with? And thank you for coming.
I would like to say that each and every person out there has an amazing story that is meant to impact the world. And that story needs to be told. And whether you tell it through me or through somebody else, find a way to tell it, because that's how we as humanity connect, is through our stories.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I
Thank
have
you.
to say, my friends, the pleasure was mine, that the way that Kristine ended is so true. We all have a story. And our assignment is to share that story with others, because don't they say that storytelling is one of the greatest assets you could bring to any conversation? I believe that. And I still continue to work towards that end. Friends, we'll see you next week, Monday and next Wednesday. And then I have a little bit more news to share with you. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of this week, the weekend, and the rest of your lives. Make it, as Kristine has shared with us, the best ever. I don't know how we can live our lives without diversity and learning more about the human condition, starting with ourselves. That said, I'm sending you always much, much love, pure love, the universal language, from my heart to your heart. Be and stay well. See you again soon. Cheers.